Hello and welcome to Google Digital Garage. Hello and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Anthea and I am one of the Google Digital Garage trainers, and I am here to talk about all things social media strategy. Today I'm not alone. I'm also joined by a moderator who is Na, and she is currently in the chat. So if you'd like to engage with her, if you'd like to ask any questions, Na will be there prompting you along, answering any questions and engaging with you throughout the session. So please do keep her busy as we go through. I'd just like to kick off with a few bits of housekeeping before we get stuck into it. So firstly, if you have any issues with viewing today's webinar, please just hit the refresh button. That resolves the issue 9 times out of 10. If there's still problems after that, I just suggest closing everything down and then coming back using the exact same link that you used to get here in the first place. And if you would like to ask any questions or drop any comments or, at least say hi, then you will need to have a YouTube account. If there is currently a button there rather than the actual chat itself, it does mean that you will need to sign in or to create an account. To do so only takes a matter of moments. So do that now whilst we go through housekeeping, and then dive back into the chat and start to interact with us. We will be pausing as we go through. So if there's any questions that you've got, like I said, it's best to post your questions into the chat. Some of those will be passed on to me, and when we pause, I have an opportunity to answer those questions so that all of you who are watching can get the benefit of the answers. But if you've got very specific questions, Na will also be responding to those as we go through. Also, just so that you know, we are actually running this particular session in conjunction with a number of other sessions within the Google's Digital Garage kind of catalogue of webinars. So we've got all things from digital media, digital marketing strategy, creating, YouTube accounts, doing your personal brand, doing CV writing and covering letters. We've got everything. So if this is just one step in a series of things that you need to learn, please do visit the Google Digital Garage website in order to see what other webinars are coming up. So let us know, if you haven't already posted in the chat, do let us know where you're from and what you're hoping to get out of today. So we've got a few highs already coming in. We've got Salam from Lebanon. We've got Natalia from Colombia. We've got Tayeb from Algeria. We've got Nadine from Latvia. We've got Jonathan from the UK, Chris from Sudan, Didier from Belgium. Thank you. We have a global audience to get today. This is what is so important about having an online presence, is that you can reach everyone around the world. So please do keep chatting to us. Please keep interacting, dropping your comments and your questions in the chat. And let me just get stuck in. Okay, so we're going to break this particular session down into 3 parts. The first is showing you how to use your social media to actually grow your business. And do let us know in the chat, what business do you have? What is it that you're actually here to get social media strategy tips on? The next is we're going to look at a framework for actually building a social media strategy. And then lastly, we'll look at some tips and also some tools that are going to help you in terms of best practice for social media. Before we kick in, for those of you who did mention that you are in the UK, please also note that in addition to the webinars, we also run mentoring. This is one-to-one mentoring where you can get access to a Google Digital Garage coach like myself, like Na, or somebody else from the team who will sit with you for an hour via Google Meets and actually talk to you about your business, find out what are your struggles, what are your challenges, and help you by providing resources that are going to take you that one step further in resolving your challenges and growing your business and moving forward. So if you are based in the UK, there is a link in the chat for you to sign up for a one-to-one mentoring. You just need to provide a couple of dates and times that you're available, and you'll be matched up with someone very shortly. Now, first thing, how can social media help grow a business? Now, what we're going to do is explore some of the ways it can help you to do just that. We're all aware about the impact it's had on our social communication. So let's kind of dive into this. Now, let us know in the chat if you're on social media as well. And also if you're on social media for business. So that's useful because we still do use social media for the social aspect, which is very much of a personal thing. But there are a lot of businesses who are currently using social media to drive business, to create conversions, to create relationships. And so it's a really good mechanism for you reaching your potential audience. Now, just be aware that there are 44 million active social media users in the UK alone. So forget globally for now. Just in the UK, you have potentially access to 44 million people. Now, think about the fact that 1 hour and 54 minutes on average is spent on a daily basis by people using social media. So within just short of a 2-hour window, you have access to up to 44 million people to promote your products and services. So it's really important for you to start thinking about ways that you can position yourself and connect with the people who would be interested in what you offer. Now, YouTube and Facebook are by far the most popular platforms among UK adults online, and that's 85 and 78% respectively. And Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Snapchat are also often mentioned in mainstream or trade media, but their use remains relatively contained among the UK. So again, Twitter 45%, LinkedIn 30%, Instagram 29%, Snapchat 20%. And Periscope, for those of you who've heard of that, remains quite niche at 6%. So it's really about accessing some of the bigger platforms in order to get to this particular group of people. So why do we actually use social media? Why do you want to use social media? I can see in the chat there's a couple of people who are saying they're looking to grow their audience engagement for their team's podcast. And another is saying they want to drive more viewers to their social media channel. And another person is here to learn digital marketing from scratch. So again, the reasons that you might want to use social media can vary. It could be a learning tool. It could be a way to increase engagement. It could be specifically to make sales. Now, sales is one of the areas that we'll pause at for a moment, because in order for you to make sales, especially online, you're not actually accessing people who are going to come into your store and buy things. So now you've got social media, and you have to be able to market to people to encourage them to come into your business and make a purchase. So this now allows you to think about how you can reach new audiences. So with up to 84% of the UK population on some social media platform, it makes sense for you to really connect with new customers there. So just remember that social media is not always free, and sometimes it does require you to invest in order for you to reach the correct audience that you need. There's also an opportunity for you to create new opportunities. Now, this isn't just about who you connect with in terms of your customers. You could also collaborate. Think about other businesses that you might want to work with and connect with who are not direct competitors. All of the opportunities then allow you to channel more sales to your business. It enables you to target specific types of customers. So now, depending on the age, depending on the gender, the lifestyle, the income, the interests, you can micro-target a range of different audiences with extremely great granularity. So it's not just about targeting men who are in their 30s in London. You can be very specific about the 2-year age, and that the particular town in London that they live, and that they earn a certain amount and are interested in certain types of newspapers. So it really gives you that ability to drill down into the detail. Now, in addition, you can also build relationships and networks. So again, thinking about how you can find influencers. There are people who may or have already built up their audience. So instead of you starting from scratch, how can you tap into their audience if that's aligned to who you are and what you offer, in order to position yourself and your business? So again, think about niche audiences. So even though they're fundamentally free, you may need to pay to reach specific customers because they may not be as free-flowing as some of the other more generalist customers. It also allows you to add value to your brand. So often used for things like customer services, such as chatbots, you can really raise your customer service levels. The quicker that you're able to respond, the better. And you need to be able to understand the two-way conversations that are taking place. So this is no longer about someone wanting to ask you questions or to provide you feedback. This is you creating connections, asking questions about your customers. What brought you here today? Why have you returned? What is it about this particular product or service do you like the most? What would you like to see more of? What are one of your biggest challenges when you're generally dealing with or trying to source this particular product or service? Don't feel shy to engage with them on a human level. Customer services isn't just about dealing with complaints, it's taking your customers through a journey. And it also helps you to create super fans by building your own community. So people who are really invested in your business and want to be a part of it and also tell others, they are brand advocates, and that's essentially free marketing. So really start to think about how you can engage with them. And the more that you're able to show behind the scenes, what's your brand about? Why did it start? What kind of decisions that you make to keep you on track to put yourself out there. All of that helps to really show a different side to your business. It's not just the products that you sell or the services that you sell. It's really getting a better understanding of this holistic business that has a very human-centered element. It also helps you to improve your marketing. So, think about getting noticed on a search. So have you ever noticed that there is a social tweet that has come up on a Google search? I don't know if any of you've done that, but sometimes when I search for things, there are things like LinkedIn or Twitter feeds that actually come back as responses. So when you're using social media, don't think it stops within social media. Some of that content actually appears within a Google search. It helps you to attract more people to your site simply for that reason. People who weren't even on social media are now seeing your social media posts and are now beginning to follow you, like you, go and visit your website. It also helps you to gain valuable customer insights. How do you understand them better? By knowing who they follow, when they follow, how they follow. And then that helps you to tweak your marketing so you know when to approach or when to market to specific people on which platforms. And again, remember, it also enables you to keep an eye on your competitors. Go and see what they're doing. What posts do your competitors have that are getting a really big amount of traction? Is that something that can work for you? Because if it doesn't align to your brand, don't bother. But it's just to kind of get ideas about other ways that you could be a bit more innovative in terms of communicating with your audience. So here's a few questions to kind of ask yourself to get into that mindset of, how can I be using social media and how can I improve it? Are my posts on social media driving people to my website? Because if you're constantly posting and no one is visiting, it means either the things that you're posting, no one really responds to, or where you're posting and how you're posting isn't reaching the target audience that you're looking for. So think about what kind of updates you can post, what's happening in your business, what new collaborations do you have, what changes in your business are you making? All of these kind of things will help other people, your customers, potential, to feel like they're part of the team and that they're going along this journey with you. Consider who your most influential followers are. Maybe you've got some people whose audiences that you can also tap into. And then also think about what the best time to engage with your audience is, because knowing this will help you to target them and also get the most engagement for your investment, especially if you are paying for any form of advertisements. So just remember, attention spans are short. We have an 8-second attention span, and that decreases very rapidly on social media. So congratulate yourself for staying for 14 minutes so far. Most social media platforms actually estimate attention spans being around 3 seconds. So think about it. What content can you put together that in the first 3 seconds, somebody is drawn in, that they feel connected enough, interested enough, curious enough to want to know more about the post, about the business, about the product, or about the service. It has to be good enough to stop people from just scrolling and scrolling. Remember that lots of other brands are competing for attention with the same people. So this kind of means that you have to figure out how you stand out. And this doesn't mean that you have to do a lot of extra things. In fact, it's probably the opposite. Strip it back. Stop trying to compete with everything. Touch base with your unique service proposition. What makes you stand out as a business, and really drive that forward. It's actually a misconception that social media is actually a free way of growing your audience. So whether you're investing in ads in order to reach people, or maybe you're investing in a particular resource, maybe, for content creation or something like that, just make sure you clearly define your goals so that you can ensure that you're getting a good return on that investment. If you pay for ads, don't just keep paying. Review them. Are these ads working? Are they reaching the right people? Are we driving people to the website? Think about all of those things and whether or not those things are actually working for you. And then lastly, just remember that once it's public, it's public. And a lot of the times it's really difficult for you to get things removed from the public domain. So to avoid a PR catastrophe, be very careful about what you say and how you say it and what you post. It's very difficult, as I mentioned, to get things erased. And it can actually go viral, but for the wrong reason. And so you want people to have positive things to say about your business, not negative. So even though it might feel like a really cool thing to say, you have to be careful about who the audience is, whether that would actually land, and whether it even benefits anybody for you posting it. So think about how you scroll. Put yourself in the minds of your potential audience. What's enough to make you stop scrolling? What's enough to make you, to grab your attention? And make sure that you're doing it because it's something that you think your audience need, not because what your competitors are doing. And actually, it's really, really simple at the moment to be able to post on social media. You don't even have to go into social media to post on social media anymore. You can actually do it through other applications such as Canva, Later, Hootsuite, etc. So it's becoming a lot easier for you to engage with your audience. Okay, so we're just going to take a quick pause to see if there are any questions. No questions so far. Okay, so we've just kind of laid the foundation, and now we're going to talk about how to build a social media strategy. So please do drop your questions into the chat and let us know any comments, any questions that you've got. And at the next pause, I'll have an opportunity to answer some of those. So to truly make the most that the opportunity that social media can give to your business, you need to create a strategy. And this is what today is all about, allowing you to also make use of the insights that are available. So what we'll do now is we'll discuss what the key steps to building a strategy are, and also what are the metrics that you need to look out for when you are tracking your efforts. So there are 5 steps to creating a social media strategy. Thinking of who your audience really are as opposed to who you want them to be, the main thing that you need to start off with is defining your audience. Then you need to look at what is it that you want to achieve or get out of using social media. Then determining which platforms that you need to be on, not want to be on, and I'll explain that as we go through. And then to find your social voice. How can you stand out amongst all of the other people who are using social media also? And then how do you determine whether or not you've been successful? How do you decide what success looks like to you? So let's jump in and break this down. Now, step 1 is about defining your audience. Let us know in the chat how you are currently defining your audience. Do you know who your target audience is? And now let me preempt that and say the answer cannot be everybody or everyone. A lot of the businesses that we mentor, when we ask them who are your target audience, one of the probably the 95% responses that we get are, well, actually, this can help everybody. And although to a degree that may be true, you have to be very clear about who your target audience is. Otherwise, you will not be able to do what? Target them. If it's for everyone and everyone has a different problem, how can you speak to the people that you are trying to reach in a way that helps them to understand that you are talking specifically to them, specifically to the problems that they are dealing with, and specifically offering them solutions that will make their life better? If it is generalist, then no one is listening. So it's really important for you to think about your target audience. And if you've already got a target audience, I encourage you to use these questions to really go through that list and make sure that who you are targeting is right for your business. So what do we need to know? Well, who are they? What demographics do we know about them? Are they male? Are they female? Where do they live? What age group are they? What kind of job do they do? What are they into? What kind of interests do they have? Do they like baking? Do they like weddings? Do they like photography? Do they like running marathons? What is it that they're interested in? Because remember, especially on social media, a lot of people follow the things that they're interested in. So if you can understand that, then you know where to position yourself. Who or what influences them? So think about it. I'm a potential consumer and I'm going to maybe make a purchase. What influences me to make that purchase, this one over that one? Is it a friend? Is it a review? Is it a site where I can read, personal experiences from others? Is it a recommendation? Does it have to appear in the newspaper? Does it have to appear in a search? People are influenced in different ways. So you really need to get into the psyche of the individual so you understand exactly how they think and what they're likely to respond to. When are they usually online? Well, think about it. If you're targeting, let's say, men who enjoy morning jogs, they're unlikely to be online first thing in the morning because they're out taking a run. But once they've had their shower and they've got their breakfast and they're on their way to work, you can probably touch base with them then. So the things that they're interested in, the things that they do, their lifestyle, their demographics, all play a part about what time of day they actually go online. And understanding that helps you to position your social media posts, and later, if you decide to use advertisements, when to actually show them to that particular audience. And then also, what social media do they use? Not do social media I want to use, but what social media do they use? This is really important because you could have had an entire strategy ready for Instagram and then found out that all of your people are on LinkedIn. So does it make sense because you've got all of this great grid created on Instagram that you're now going to do all of these posts? Your audience aren't there. So figure out where is it that they spend their time. And these are the things that are going to help you to figure out how to target them. And remember that if you don't have that already, using things like Google Analytics can help you to make some assumptions about your audience based on those who are already visiting your website. And if you're already using social media, you can look at the insights for the particular platform to give you some of that basic data. So how do you go about defining your audience? Maybe you don't have a clue who they should be. Maybe you've got your product or service, but you haven't quite figured out who specifically needs it. So when we talk about defining your audience, it's important to know who you're targeting. So like I said, you can customize the message and make sure that it lands at the right moment for the right people. Firstly, speak to real people. Usually when you're creating your business, you're creating a solution to an existing problem. So the problem already exists and there are people experiencing the problem that already exists. So go and speak to them. It could be you, it could be your staff. If you don't have staff, it could be you doing posts or surveys on social media. It could be existing customers if you have any. It could be research papers. It could be case studies. The problem doesn't have to exist with your business for you to be able to find out about it. So go and figure out what's their needs and what platforms are they engaging with. The second is for you to identify groups and segments. So once you've got the data, make sure that you're able to start segmenting them. And that essentially just means splitting them up. So let's say you gathered all of this information, but the way that your product or service works means that you can target people who maybe are single. And then another one is you want to target people who are married. And then another one could be you want to target people who are divorced, but not single. So it really depends on you having a way to get all of this big data and then shrinking it down into manageable segments, which allow you to communicate your message directly to each of those audiences. So don't worry too much if you feel like your audience is too big or you've got too many variations. Segment them. And then maybe what you could do is prioritize it to say, this is the one I'll focus on first, and then I'll come back to the others later. So then thirdly, build an online survey. There are lots of free surveys out there. There's Jotform. You can even just use Google Forms. There's plenty of others. But creating some questions to help get into the psyche of your potential audience. What are their problems? What are their challenges? What have they tried? What hasn't worked? Understanding that can enable you to gather such useful, rich information that can change your entire marketing message. So again, insights I mentioned before, think about what you can gather from any social media platforms you're already on. So the first one is Facebook. No, it's not Facebook. The first one is, I don't know what this one is. I've completely gone blank for this one. But the first one is giving demographic data around the age, I believe, of a particular individual. So this gives you an idea. If you said, oh, I want to target, a particular age group, and then you get the insights of who's been visiting your social media pages, and it's a completely different age group, then you kind of have your answer. You trying to stick with an age group you think need your services versus using the data to show you who does, it's a bit tricky. The second one is from Facebook, and this gives age and also gender. Again, really good insight in terms of demographics. And then on the right-hand side, we have Google Analytics, which, the first one I think is the Google marketing platform, right? And then the last one is Google Analytics, which gives you an idea about it depends on what you want to know, like who's visiting, gives you demographics and much more detail. And you can actually create reports in things like analytics to gather more data from there as well. So again, use the insights from the platforms that you already have to tell you who's already visiting. Second, define your goals. So how do you translate your business goals into social goals? You might think, this is what I want to do in my business, but how does social media help you do that? Think about how you're going to use your channels as a tool to grow brand awareness, to give better customer service, to generate more sales, get more people on your site, or connect with influencers. So maybe you're using social media as a way to build rapport, to network, or to find brand advocates. Okay, so it's really important that firstly, actually, that you know what your business goals are. You may be in business, but do you know what your business goals are? What are you trying to achieve? Because without that, you won't know how social media fits in. We would encourage, to avoid doing a bit too much, is to set one social media goal. So based on what we are covering right now, I'd love for you to put in the chat one social media goal that you are going to set and commit to moving forward from today's session. So I'll talk you through the double diamond framework to problem solving that will help you to set a social media goal. So the first thing is discover. Discover what the goal is and also how it helps your business. So you may have a goal which could be to grow followers, but how does that help your business? How does having more followers help your business? If none of them are converting, do they really help your business goals? So it's really important to figure out what the goal is and how it helps. The next is to define what are the things that could get in the way. Now, this is really important because we can come back from a session like this feeling really inspired and motivated and enthused, and then life kicks in the day after and we're back to ticking things off a checklist. So what's going to distract me? What are my points what are the shiny objects that I keep looking at? What's going to prevent me from doing this? It could be fear, lack of confidence, lack of knowledge, responding to emails, like whatever it is for you, be very, very honest and transparent with yourself about what those things are. Develop. What do you need to achieve this goal? List it out. It doesn't have to the terminology doesn't have to be what's known in the industry. Whatever works for you. It could be get accounts set up, decide on business branding colors, create first Instagram post, whatever. What are the things that you need to do to get this goal achieved? And then lastly, think about going back to that define step. How can you remove those barriers? For everything that you said is going to get in the way, how do you counteract it? Because you know those things are coming. How are you going to counteract it? Let's not pretend that those things won't try and get in the way. Let's acknowledge them and just say, right, when I get distracted by email, I'm going to set myself a 30-minute timer, close all emails, and focus on the task at hand. That's fine. You've given that task 30 minutes of pure concentration. But unless you list it down in the moment, you're very unlikely to actually do that. Third step, choose your channels carefully. So again, there's a few things to really consider here. Like, are you actually a business that's selling to consumers? Are you selling to the general public, or are you actually selling to other businesses? So depending on which channel that you select, each is going to require a different investment. It's not always money, but it could be time, it could be resources. In order for you to optimize results, sometimes there's a misconception that if it's free, it's good, but it's not always the case. So again, think about, would it be beneficial for you to invest financially in something that does everything that you need? And don't just be on all just for the sake of it. You know, it's actually not going to add a lot of value. For every social media platform, you need a social media strategy. Do you have the bandwidth to implement every single strategy that you have? I'll probably say for most of you, the answer is no. So think about that. Do you really have the time to post? Because taking one post and trying to repost on every platform is not beneficial at all. Better off picking the platform, not that you want to be on, and as I said before, it's about where your potential customers are likely to be. Where do you find your target audience? That's where you need to be. And so again, just make sure that you are going to the right channels that are going to get you in front of the right people. And that is it. It's really not difficult if you start with just one platform, on a platform that you know your customers are likely to be. So just start with one and work through. So let's go through some of these channels now. So for Twitter, this is really good for a kind of quick fire, conversation, back and forth, engagement, PR type of thing. So it allows you to create professional looking profile, header, and also an @ name. Be very careful with your @ name. It needs to be something that's one, memorable, two, describable, and three, shareable. If I can't pronounce it, if I can't really describe it, I'm not going to share it. And then you miss out on the opportunity of having referrals because people couldn't spell or pronounce or whatever your name. So try not to be too clever with your @ names. Use hashtags to join into conversations, ask questions, run polls to get people's opinion about certain things, retweet, engage, and also sometimes use pinned tweets. If you've got something that's really important for anyone who might just be joining your profile for the first time, what's the one thing that you'd really love them to know based on the things that you've posted? Pin that to the top, and that's the first thing that they'll see when they hit that profile link. And so here's an example of the Dollar Shave Club, where they're speaking in the tone of their manly audience, and they're using a simple poll to ask how often they change their blade. Now, if you have X number of votes come in, that is very useful information, which then would allow you, if it says once a month, Dollar Shave Club could then go back to think about their marketing, and 21 to 25 days after every purchase, they can create an automatically triggered email that says your DSC blade is up for changing. Here is a 5% discount, or here is a link to buy our latest version. So you see how you can collect data from your audience and use that to better market to them. And again, Twitter is one of them. You've also got Facebook. So Facebook is more of a lifestyle type of app. So you're looking for people who are interested in more kind of family, lifestyle, hobbies, interests, and things like that. So you've got a bit more space to add information about you. There's a lot more information that you can give in terms of your business, if you want to book calls, if you want to go to a website. Also make sure that you've got a very strong call to action. You don't want people to come to your page and then leave because you haven't actually told them what you want them to do. To kind of vary it up a little bit, GIFs and also videos to kind of generate interest, and think about creating content that's shareable as well. So maybe tap into trends like Proper Tasty did. Very quick videos. I think their videos are all pretty much under 1 minute, and it just creates this beautifully designed video that shows how they, make a particular recipe. It's got a popular ingredient, so that makes it go viral because most people have these things at home already. And when you tap into things that are trending, that also generates more traffic for yourself. Instagram is another one. Again, you can connect this to your Facebook page to make it a business account, and that allows you to do a couple of things. You can provide contact details and directions to people who come onto your profile, but in addition, you can actually link it to social media scheduling apps so that they can schedule posts into Instagram on your behalf, such as Canva. So again, what are we doing this for? It's very photo driven. So use it to tell a story, engage your audience, capture their attention. Try not to put in too many hashtags. I remember when I first started, someone told me 30 hashtags was okay. It's never okay. I'm letting you know, it's never okay. 5 or 6 really, and make sure that they're relevant to people who are actually searching for things that you're using. And make sure that in your own profile that you are following influencers, brands, or even people that you find interesting. And that will help to spark up ideas through your own feed about how you can talk to your own audience. You've also got LinkedIn. So again, this is really good. Encourage your employees, if you have any, as a first step to, create a LinkedIn page, add all of your employees, and then get them to share that with their network. Be authoritative and think about more long form content, which is essentially, like blog style length, where you're going deep diving into a particular subject. So if you create that company or personal, page, make sure you've got a photo that's relevant. Encourage your employees to be brand advocates so that they're continuing to share, engage with them, make it search engine friendly, and just update what's going on in your business. Let people in, let people know, why you do things in a certain way that you do, why you don't conform to others. And in this particular post, you can see L'Oreal, they generally post thought leadership blogs and talent tips, and usually 4 pieces of content a day. In this particular one, they used an image where it's to do with employees bringing their dogs to work day. That is a lot more different to what they used to posting, but very engaging. And now people who have dogs are likely to start following L'Oreal because they can see that they care for their staff who have dogs and are willing to bring them into the office. So don't allow things like this to go unposted because you think, oh, no one's going to care. People really do. They want to see what happens behind the scenes. You've also got YouTube. So looking at, and again, this is the most popular video sharing site. It's the 2nd biggest search engine in the world. So if you're not on here, but have a reason to be, please do go. And again, we've got other webinars that actually look at creating content for YouTube. So you can show anything here. Do you have a product review? Do you have an ad? Do you want to target somebody else's audience and drive traffic to maybe a video that you've created? Think about how-to videos or useful information, top tips. What can you do to engage your audience and help them to feel like they're having much more of an experience with you? And again, if you're using YouTube, there are going to be a lot of content creators who've built up a massive following. How can you engage with them? How can you potentially collaborate with them so that your content goes to a much bigger audience? So step 4 is thinking about your social voice. So thinking about setting up your own business guidelines or rules of how your business will communicate on social media is really important, because everything that you do is representative of your brand. So the rules, how do you use your logo? What fonts, what colors do you use, and when do you use them? What about the tone of voice? What kind of personality? Are you humorous? Are you serious? Are you professional? Are you family friendly? Do you use slang? All of those things are important. What are your do's and don'ts? How do you greet people? How do you sign off? Think about all of those things and what style of images that you want to use, and just make sure that it's consistent. For those of you who are, single, you're the only person within your business, a micropreneur, let's say, don't think that having this is too early, because once you define it, every time you do actually bring somebody on board, it's already there. You don't have to worry about getting so busy that you need to bring someone else that you don't even have time to tell them how they should represent your business. So it's really important for you to take some time to start thinking about this. So again, I mentioned things like friendly, fun, serious, formal, casual. Think about how your customers are going to react to each of these different tones. And let us know in the chat, do you currently have a tone of voice? What's your brand tone of voice? And how do you generally tend to engage with your customers? Because again, however you choose to engage, you want to make sure that that's consistent across all platforms and everything that you do. So here's an example. The first one, this is about This Girl Can. This is a campaign that was used. It's huge on social media, and I think it still is, because it just showed a very different approach to representing women. So let us know in the chat, what tone of voice do you think was used on this campaign, and how do you think that the choices of tone and platform influences the success of this campaign? So think about it. Under these gloves, a beautiful manicure. It's like giving permission for women to be feminine, but also do things that are interesting to them, which could include boxing. I also know the offside rule. It's kind of challenging the norms of what women are supposed to or not supposed to know. And again, putting that on the forefront. Sweating like a pig, feeling like a fox. Again, it's this whole thing that we're supposed to be, we can't let our hair down and be sweaty and work out and all of those things and still feel feminine. So this is a really, really good campaign that looked at a very specific audience and inspired them to say, whatever it is that you want to do, you can. And that's pretty much the basis of it. Step 5 is looking at defining success. So again, try not to get too distracted about using by the wrong numbers. Think about going back to, what was your goal? It's not that you didn't make 50,000 this year. If your goal was to make 5,000 in the next 3 months and you made that, you are winning. Trust me. So don't look at what you achieve over a long period of time. Look at what you set out to achieve. What's your goal? Was it for sales? Was it to drive traffic to your site? Was it about having influencers? Then start thinking about how you can potentially improve. So is it to do with your customer service? Is it based on the number of calls answered? Or do you actually have more star ratings now? Do you have more Google reviews? Maybe you just wanted to increase brand awareness, reach, and maybe the number of mentions. So maybe one person a month mentioned you, and now you've got 10 people a month mentioning you. What's your goal? And how do you know that you've achieved it? So other things to really think about is also to consider paying, right? So the more reach that you have, it gives you access to a wider audience, and they don't have to already be following you. So organic reach can only take you so far. Think about, potentially paying to reach the people that you want to try and get the conversions that you're looking for in order for your business to grow. So some platforms can make it difficult to reach without paying for it, but it generally paying for ads and etc. generally tends to work better if your goal is for more sales and growth. If you're just looking for brand awareness and more followers and more likes and more engagement, it may not be worthwhile paying for that because it's less likely for you to be able to see the return on the investment. So you might think about growing more organically. So just bringing everything together then in these 5 steps. So firstly, defining the audience and how to make things relatable to them. Set one business goal and how to mitigate any barriers. Choose one or more channels. Think about the tone of voice and potential content for specific channels, and then construct some ideas on defining success. If you follow those 5 steps, you'll have a social media strategy. Okay, let's have a look at questions. Okay, so there's a question from Jonathan who's asking, is there an easy way to find what my all are interested in? I have looked at the social media analytics and looked at our demographics, but each post is different and gets the same traction. So I don't think there's necessarily an easy way for you to figure out what your audience are interested in, but you can use this as an opportunity to post very specific types of content. So for example, you might say, let's post something that has a video. Let's post something that's a static image. Let's use a story or something that requires some kind of poll or engagement. And then look not just at how many people viewed, but also how many people interacted. Consider using, when you do a static post, use one with a picture and then maybe one with text, like a quote. Depends on what your business in. But in general, once you see how people are interacting with them, because you mentioned each post is different and gets the same kind of traction, but what is the traction? Is it based on the number of likes? Is it based on the number of comments? Make sure each of these posts have a very specific call to action, and a good way to understand what that is or whether or not it's working is for you to see if the call to action has been actioned. So if after a particular post you're asking them to leave a comment to tell you X, they will tell you. If you're asking them to go and visit the link in your profile and people do, then you know it's working. But if people are just liking it but not taking the action, then it's unlikely that that particular post is hitting home as well as others. Does text-based social media translate to a video format? How, and are there any tips and tools? I'm not 100% sure what you are referring to, Jonathan, in that. Is that, for example, Twitter? Because with Twitter, you can use video, you can use images as well. And so again, it's more just to do with your particular audience. You can use, because some people use videos to write out text. They do quotes with text on there, but they're videos because they have some aerial shot or something in the background. So I'm not specifically sure about TikTok, but the same rules apply again, is test it. If you're not 100% sure, test it. Okay, should have more time. Okay, so how do you segment when you are not sure what kind of audience you have? So Zara, I'd probably suggest going back to rewatch this, because when we broke it down, it was looking at the different categories and getting a generalized audience, because in order to have a product or a service, it needs to be to solve a problem. So the question you need to ask yourself is, does your product or service solve a problem? If not, why does that business or product or service exist? It always has to be for someone. So once you know it's for someone, you need to know who. So you should always have a general idea about who your audience is. and then you go and ask them. So I gave out some tips about who you can actually talk to, how you can talk to, posts, polls, surveys, etc. Speak to real people, do market research, whatever, but get that information in, and then it will put you in a better position to be able to gather that data and realize, okay, so we now have this age group, or we've got this gender, or we've got people with this particular interest, and that's the bit that helps you to segment it. Okay, so I think the last question that was asked has been answered, so I'll move on so we can wrap up. Okay, so looking at tools and best practice. So your social channels are often public. So again, remember there are some best practices and tips that you'll use, and also in order to make sure that your strategies succeed. So let's start to think about the different types of content that you might wish to post. And again, this is going to differ depending on the platform that you're on, but here are a few ideas. Announcements. What's happening, right? What is happening in your business? Do you have a new project you're working on, a new product, a new service, a new collaboration? Announce to the world what's going on. And usually you can use that as a teaser as well. So it gives you content to keep promoting up until the point that you leave that particular thing to drop. Things that are non-promotional, so behind the scenes, so you can use stories a lot more with that. It doesn't need to be sat on your actual profile, but you can give people a 24-hour glimpse. So by posting stories, if you're a photographer, what does behind the scenes of a photography shoot look like? If you are a baker, what does it look like in your kitchen before it comes out in this spectacular view that you put on your social media? Think about it from that perspective. What happens before it gets to the point that you're offering this for sale? Product or brand related tips. So again, how-tos. Are there better ways that people can use things? Or, if you're selling running shoes, for example, should you be wearing a particular type of sock? Does that help with cushioning? What happens if you've got flat feet versus arched feet? That kind of thing, to help people be educated in some way. There's also recurring content, so where you think about particular days, so Easter, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, these seasonal activities that are taking place. You can actually plan that a year in advance and have things scheduled to go out around the time of the particular season. What's happening operationally? If you've actually created a loyal following, there are going to be people who are interested about potentially working for you. So let them know that you're hiring. Let them know who you're looking for so that they can spread that in their network as well. Excuse me. And then lastly, think about responses. So just engage. Now think about posting a question, a poll, something that will allow you to ask a question, maybe visually, that then gives people an opportunity to comment, and that gives you data, all the responses. So again, it's another way for you to use market research as well. So think about experiences worth sharing, right? So what's shareable to you? Think about all of the times where you have shared something from one platform to another within the platform. You've saved it, you've bookmarked it, whatever. That's the kind of response that you want people to have when you post something. Someone needs to see this. Someone needs to hear this. All right, so think about that. And that enables you to actually turn your dedicated customers into loyal social advocates. These people are sharing things and you haven't even asked them. It's free marketing, but you've treated them so well. They've had such a great experience with your product or service that they want to tell everybody. So again, think about what are the ways that you can encourage your audience to engage with your brand, and how can you make the engagement authentic, relatable, and timely? And by improving that experience, it then allows you to, or allows them to, share you with the world. So a few tips for sharing content. Firstly, use great graphics. We've got things like Canva that has stock photography within there. So that's a really simple, free and easy way for you to access content and graphics. There's other sites like Pexels and Unsplash also that you can use. Make sure that you're checking your grammar. You can use things like Grammarly, but spelling mistakes, a lot of people do not get a pass on. Most people can run something through a spell check. So do try to do that as much as possible. And find a way to manage your social media accounts. There are a variety of different tools to help you with that. Canva, Hootsuite, Later, Buffer, and you can also use scheduling within certain platforms as well, such as Facebook. They have a scheduling app through one of the links. I'm not sure where it is these days, but they do have a link that you can set up and schedule your posts in advance. So where are we now? Well, you've got the knowledge, and so now it's about seeing things in action. So let us know, what are you still struggling with? We'll take a couple of questions before we finish, but the main thing really is for you to set your goal for a strategy. What is it you really want to get out of it from a business perspective? And then based on your business goals, how can social media help you to achieve those things? What is your tone of voice for the audience, and what kind of content are you planning to share? Again, this is really important for you to know what that is, so that you can be consistent and people will be able to see and understand your brand wherever you go. So think about it. There are certain brands, when you see the colors, like when you see the Google colors, etc., you immediately know it's Google. It doesn't even have to spell Google. You just know. When you go to McDonald's, you see the golden arches, you immediately know. When you see the kernel for KFC, you immediately know. In the UK, we've got Specsavers. Whenever I see that green band of glasses, I know. So this is what you're trying to get to with your business. You want to create something that at some point you no longer have to announce yourself. People will just know. And so this is really about you being consistent with your brand, that tone of voice and the content you share, so people can begin to recognize you. And making sure that you put it on a platform that you know your audience will want to look at, not just because you like that platform, is going to help you massively. And I say that because that's what I used to do. So it's about the platform that I felt the most comfortable with, but it's not about me. It's about your customer. Where are they? What's going to be the easiest way for them to connect with you and understand that you exist and can help them with whatever it is that they're dealing with? So, any questions? I don't think that we have. Okay, so what's the next steps? So just before we wrap up, just another brief reminder that the one-to-one mentoring is there. For any of you who have a UK-based business, remember that you can sign up for free one-to-one mentoring with myself or one of my colleagues to sit with you over Google Meets for 1 hour and figure out where you are in your business, where you're trying to go, and how we could possibly help you to bridge the gap. We will share resources, suggestions, things that have worked for other clients, and just kind of help you on your way. So please, please, please do sign up for that if you have an opportunity. And we would never practice what we preach if we decided to just say goodbye. So please do use the feedback option to let us know how we're doing. How are you finding these webinars? Are there other topics that you're interested in having? You, our audience, we want to make sure that we are giving you the tools and the techniques and the tips that are going to help solve your business problems so that you can go and serve your customers. So please do spend 30 seconds going through the feedback in order to let us know how the sessions are going. So I'll do one last check for any questions. And I guess this question was already answered, but it was a case of the content scheduling platform that's best bang for your buck, that suits most people's needs, Canva versus Later versus Hootsuite. In my personal opinion, I have tried to use other tools, but what I found is that I was in one application to design it, then I had to export all of them and then upload it into another application in order to schedule. And that was the bit that was taking too long. So what I ended up doing is just sticking to Canva, because once I've created the design, they ended up bringing in the scheduling side of things. They decided to do the scheduling side of things. I think it was early last year or late 2021, which then meant you can schedule directly from there. So this is now great because you can create all of your designs, you can name them and date them, and you can set all of them out. And then there is a calendar which designs will be posted to which platforms on which dates. And I just find that's the easiest way to manage. So what I would suggest is that you can potentially try. Most of these have free trials, so try all of them maybe for a week and see which one you found simplest to use before investing any money. So that was a fantastic question to end on. Thank you so much for all of your time today. I hope you all found this very useful, and we look forward to seeing you on further sessions. Take care. Bye-bye.